Alright, here's a video showing the initial setup of titration curves. So the first step for titration curves is filling up the buret. So making sure that the stopcock here is closed. Go ahead and add very carefully your solution of either your strong acid or your strong base. In this case, we are adding a strong acid, hydrochloric acid. Making careful note the ending amount written down in your ELNs. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out the base that we're going to be using, in this case sodium hydroxide, using a special pipette. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we fill this right up to, there should be a line on the pipette here. It's a little hard to see. Yeah, so we want to fill it up to that line. First thing we want to do is we want to pour some out into a secondary container. Put our pipette in until we can measure out. And once you have filled the pipette, you want to go ahead and move that to your beaker. Taking the base, we want to go ahead now and transfer that into our beaker, getting exactly 25 milliliters. Once you have deposited all of your solvent, make sure to carefully remove the pipette, putting it down on a cloth to remove any of the excess solvent on there. And then you need to make sure you adjust your probe so that it is fully immersed in either your acid or your base to make sure that your pH reader is making an accurate reading. You also want to make sure that as the stir bar stirs, it is not going to touch the probe. So right here, it looks like we're good. When you are ready to begin, go ahead and slowly open the stopcock to allow the appropriate amount of your titrant into your solution, making sure to note the amounts that you are going on the top of the buret. Steady drops here. You can adjust the stopcock to go faster or slower, depending on how comfortable you are. Once you get within between 1 and 2 milliliters from the isoelectric point, this is where you want to make sure you take this very slowly, doing very few drops at a time to get to 0.2 milliliters. So be very careful at this next step to ensure that you are only doing a small amount and keeping an eye on the changes on the pH meter. Once you have gone past the isoelectric point, go ahead and go back to your 1 milliliter additions from your buret, making sure to note the pH at these values. After getting your 50 milliliters into your container, go ahead and turn off the stir bar, noting the final pH. And from here, you want to take the data that you've been writing down in your ELN and make your titration curve on that program. Later on, putting that into a more highly sophisticated program such as Excel and putting that there. So from here, you want to make sure that you properly clean everything and put things back to where you had last found them.